Let's give them some business on News Radio 590 KLBJ AM, 590 AM and 99.7 on your FM dial and everywhere at newsradioklbj.com. We've got some good news for a long-time Austin establishment. Highland Lanes, the bowling alley for decades over near 183 and Burnett Road, has gotten a lease extension. Yeah, according to the Austin Business Journal, the owners have secured an 18-month extension on that lease. The bowling alley was set to close this year to make room for a new 300-unit multifamily development. That site plan is now inactive. Yeah, the future of the property is not fully clear at this point. Mr. Donovan, who spoke with the Austin Business Journal, he's one of the co-owners. He says possibly the lease extension was granted because the developer needed more time. He's unsure if Highland Lanes will be able to move to a new location thanks to affordability issues here in the Austin area. Let's take a look at your money. Here's reporter Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a winning start to the week for stocks. Markets reacting to President Biden's withdrawal from the race for a second term and his endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris. The S&P 500 index up 1%. The NASDAQ up 1.5%. Tech shares rebounded, led by NVIDIA. Vice President Harris, formerly a senator from California with ties to the tech community. Investors really like that.
I'm regarding this actually as mega versus MAGA. Mega tech does better with someone who's sophisticated, who understands California, who is not against tech. Let's not forget, her brother-in-law is Tony West, who is a former general counsel of PepsiCo, then was with the Justice Department, is now the general counsel of Uber. And you tell me if there's someone who's more sophisticated and knows more about business and the West Coast than her brother-in-law, who would be an amazing advisor. They're close. And I just keep thinking, Biden didn't hurt the stock market at all. It's pretty amazing how well Biden administration's done. But this whole idea that she's a clone of his is completely wrong. So she's much more moderate than he.
You think it's a net positive for the markets?
Absolutely.
And for American business?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
CNBC Mad Money host Jim Cramer with CNBC anchor Carl Quintanilla. Meantime, Democrats brought in more than $100 million in 2 days, and one big donor's back after taking a pause, hoping that President Biden would pass the torch.
Disney family heiress Abigail Disney, as people probably know, told me that she is coming back now in helping Democrats. This is the latest moment of the donors coming home. It's just kind of a drumbeat at this point. A really wild 24 hours in the fundraising front.
CNBC's Brian Schwartz. Delta Airlines CEO says it's going to be a few more days of cancellations and delays after last Friday's global internet outage. CrowdStrike shares tumbled again yesterday. Skechers is suing LL Bean for copying a shoe design, according to Retail Dive.
Here we are in the third quarter of 2024. There are a lot of companies reporting earnings.
It's one of the busiest weeks of the summer. More than 100 companies in the S&P 500 are reporting results, and everything heats up this morning.
Tesla, Alphabet, UPS, General Motors, Coca-Cola, and Visa all reporting. On Wednesday, we'll be getting AT&T, IBM, Ford, and Chipotle. Then on Thursday, we've got Honeywell, Southwest Airlines, American Airlines, and Hasbro. And on Friday, you've got 3M and Bristol-Myers Squibb.
CNBC's Becky Quick. Also on today's watch list, we get existing home sales numbers for June. The Spot Ether ETF exchange traded fund begins trading.
That is reporter Jessica Ettinger. Home prices. We're about to see a boom. Apparently, according to the story, home prices are about to plummet by 20%. You know, in the pandemic boom towns, including Austin, Texas. According to the story, house prices boomed across the country during the pandemic, but some of these hotspots will see a dramatic drop in valuations, according to the experts. In particular, the housing market here in the South is the bubble is set to burst. That, according to real estate analyst Nick Garelli. Garelli, a CEO and analyst with firm Reventure. He predicts that you could see prices drop as much as 20% over the next few years, with 15% fall just in the next year or so.
There's this perception out there that once home prices start dropping, all the buyers are going to flood back in. But that's actually not what's happening in a city like Austin. In Austin, home prices are down almost 20% over the last 2 years. There's been no bounce back in buyer demand. And inventory is just continuing to increase. Prices now in Florida are really starting to go down in many markets. Buyer demand is not going up. In Boise, prices went down by quite a bit. Buyer demand really didn't go up. And so the other thing to understand is that when it becomes obvious in a housing cycle that we're in the down cycle, buyers all of a sudden realize that they have time on their side.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden there's this FOMO or this competition that's gone. And rather it's kind of like, let's see how far the values could drop. And so, it's a bit of a long-winded answer, but I would be very skeptical of thinking that a couple rate cuts is all of a sudden going to propel the housing market forward when we're already seeing this big spike in inventory occur in about half the states in the U.S.
Gurley says, therefore, he estimates that houses in these areas are as much as 30% overvalued. And one such boomtown is Austin, Texas, and it's already seen some home prices fall significantly from its peak during the pandemic. In fact, home prices, sales have already declined 2.9% year over year. That according to data from Redfin. Thousands of Americans fled to Austin in the pandemic era, looking for more space and to take advantage of the low taxes, and remote work became a possibility. We do have more on our LinkedIn page at Todd Jeffries. Stay close. Traffic in your forecast. It's all coming up right here on News Radio KLBJ.
The Todd and Oz Show.